What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going over my picks for UFC 317. Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. Got a real good main card. Got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. The first fight on the main card, we got Peyton Talbott taking on Felipe Lima. And I got to be honest here, this is some very surprising matchmaking by the UFC in my opinion. As we know, Talbott got exposed in his last fight against Barcelos. Yeah, Barcelos is a real good wrestler and grappler, low-key. A lot of people don't know that. But Talbott really got exposed. He showed he had nothing in terms of the grappling for Barcelos, which isn't that good because we've seen Barcelos lose to higher level competition like Umar. For the UFC to sign Talbott to fight against a young prospect coming up like Felipe Lima that has, I would say, an obvious significant grappling advantage is very shocking to me, to say the least. It makes me think that once they saw that glaring hole in Talbott's game, they realized we can't make a star out of this guy. In the 135 division, you need to be well-rounded. It's such a stacked division. And I don't know, maybe they're trying to feed Lima. Lima obviously needs to be careful here. Talbott does have that one-punch KO power, and I could easily see him getting a KO over Lima here, but style-wise, stylistically, it's just not a good matchup for Peyton. I don't see... yeah, aside from a knockout, I think Lima's just going to throw him to the ground and probably submit him, honestly. Talbott can win. I just honestly don't think he will. I think he's going to get tapped out. So I'm going to have to go with Felipe Lima via submission in the third round. The next fight in the main card, we got Renato Moicano taking on Dariush. And if I'm being honest, guys, I think this is kind of a layup for Moicano. But it is dependent on which Beneil shows up. Prime for prime, I think Beneil would smoke Moicano, but Beneil's been out for over a whole year. That's not good. I mean, maybe for him that time off might have helped. He's been finished in his last two fights, but Moicano just has all the momentum. He's seemingly getting better at this stage in his career, whereas based off of the last couple fights, which were over a year and a half ago, we know Beneil is deteriorating. So it's really hard for me to even consider picking Beneil here. It's just not his time anymore. Maybe a few years ago, 4 years ago, in that prime 2020 run, he was a real title contender, but I just don't see him hanging with the top of the division, especially if his chin is cracked. That being said, I am going to have to go with Moicano via, I don't know, maybe unanimous decision, perhaps a third round finish. Like I said, it really depends which Beneil we see in there. I wouldn't be too surprised if we get a vintage performance from Beneil, but based off of the last couple years, I just don't see that happening. Up next, we got a banger flyweight fight. We got Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Joshua Van on short notice. I think it's 2 weeks. I'm not too sure on that. But this is a very good fight. I think we're really going to see what Van's made of, so to speak. I know he's been on a solid win streak as is, but this is what dreams are made of. This is his moment. If he goes out there and dominates, Raw Dog Royval gets a dominant finish, he's next in line for the title shot, easily. Now, if Kai Car-France finishes or wins the belt over PanGOATja, that might change things, but if PanGOATja wins, the only guy up next would be Van, assuming Van wins this fight. It's going to be a real tough one for him, though. He's taking on Raw Dog Royval, who is very good. He's shown that he's not afraid to put prospects down a peg. He just did that to Tatsuro Taira in his last fight. Ultimately, it's really going to come down to Van and how much that short notice is affecting him. I think with a full camp, I would probably pick Van, but the fact that it's short notice, I have to go with Raw Dog Royval. He just looked really good in his last fight against another quick guy. I do think Van's best shot at winning here is knocking Royval out. I will say, I think he's a better boxer on the feet, absolutely. But I feel like we haven't really seen Van be truly tested on the ground, especially in crazy scrambles in the later rounds. So I would say that's in Royval's favor. And that's what Royval really needs to do this fight if he wants to secure the victory. He needs to make it an MMA fight. Use his frame, kicks, grapple, push Van against a cage, really tire Van out. Because even though Van has been training this whole time, according to him, it still is a short notice fight regardless. Like I said, if Van was coming off of a full camp, I would probably lean more towards him. I think he's a better striker, but I don't know. It's hard to pick him when he's coming on a short notice. I do think that his time is coming up, but this is just too dangerous of a fight to take on a 2 weeks notice. And if he wins, good for him. He proved me wrong, and he has the tools to do it. I just don't think he will. Royval is too game, and he's shown he's not willing to just be stepped over by a prospect. He's willing to bite down and stake his claim, just like he did against Tatsuro Taira. So I'm gonna have to go with Raw Dog Royval via unanimous decision. I really don't see him finishing Joshua Van there. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go Royval. All right, we are into the co-main event. We got Kai Kara-France taking on flyweight champion Alexander PanGOATja. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. I think this is an easy one for PanGOATja. I think he's gonna walk Kai Kara-France down and finish him. Don't get me wrong, Kai Kara-France is very good, but I don't think he's the best in that division. Aside from PanGOATja, I think Moreno's better than him. He did beat Urseg. Figgy was a lot better than him. I don't think Kai Kara-France is really that guy. I don't think he's the one that will beat PanGOATja. His best chance is in the first couple rounds, because I will say I think KKF is the hardest hitter in that 125 division. But we all know PanGOATja has a chin on him. So unless that chin has cracked, or Kai Kara-France can crack it, which I don't think he can, PanGOATja is going to eat those shots and walk Kai Kara-France the fuck down. If Kai Kara-France even falters a little bit in his cardio and how much and his output in the later rounds, we know PanGOATja is going to walk him down and finish him. We've seen KKF get worse throughout 5 rounds, whereas we've seen PanGOATja stay the same and finish guys in those later rounds, really dominate. So honestly, stylistically, I don't think it's a good matchup for KKF. Aside from a flash KO in those first couple rounds, I really don't see how he gets this done. If I'm a 125er, I am praying that Kai Kara-France gets a victory to shake things up, but I just don't see it happening, and I think PanGOATja's here to stay for a long time. I got Alexander PanGOATja via late submission in the championship rounds or a unanimous decision. I think he's going to make it look easy. We are on to the main event. We got Charles Oliveira taking on Ilia Topuria for the vacant lightweight title. It's a banger of a fight. Dare I say, this is the fight that saved International Fight Week. I feel like it was pretty lackluster until we got this fight announcement. I think this is a really good fight. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what most people think. And I got to be honest, these odds are fucking crazy. Oliveira should not be that much of an underdog. Now, I understand why. I do believe Ilia should be the favorite. We all know Oliveira gets hit. He's been hit hard in all of his last couple fights. Even in that last Chandler fight, he did dominate every round. But there's a couple times in the fight, especially in the later rounds, where he got hit by very obviously telegraphed shots from Chandler. Naturally, that'll make a lot of people reconsider their pick for Oliveira, especially when he's going up against a knockout artist like Ilia Topuria. But I think the size is actually going to be a big issue for Ilia, at least at the start. Pretty much it'll come down to who will be able to find their range first. We know Oliveira is very big for the weight class. Just big frame, big weight in general. Combine that with his clinch work, his knees, I could easily see him catching Ilia with something that could get Ilia out of there. After all, we have seen Ilia get dropped with a head kick from a taller fighter before in that weight division. We know Charles has power in his hands as well. So if he could find his range first and lock in and get some head movement out of nowhere, he could give Ilia some real problems really early on in this fight. The issue is he doesn't move his fucking head. And Ilia knows that. We know that. I don't know. I just feel like, right, it's the odds aren't looking good for Charles. So I understand why Ilia is a favorite. I get it. But if I were betting on this fight, betting my actual money, I would put 10, 20 on Charles. I mean, we've seen him as the underdog before, and we've seen him step up to the plate. He arguably won that Arman fight. I don't think so, but it was a good fight. And he's only lost to Islam and Arman, but he's only lost recently, a dominant loss to Islam Makhachev. So unless Ilia is on that level, historically speaking, Charles can easily win this. But let's be real. None of us really think that's going to happen. I'm going to have to go with Ilia here. Like I said, if I were betting money, I would pick Charles just for the underdog value there. But I'm going to have to go with Ilia. Charles does get hit. And we've seen Ilia get hit before, too. He was kind of struggling with Max to a certain degree before he got that finish. So I am curious to see how Ilia's chin will hold up, especially if Charles kind of gets going on him. But I believe in Ilia's chin and ability to take a flush shot more than I believe in Charles's chin and ability to take a flush shot, because I believe Ilia will follow Charles to the ground, and that's something I've always maintained. I feel like if Poirier, Gaethje, if all of them said fuck it and followed Charles to the ground, 1 or 2 hammer fists, he probably would have been out. He was already wobbled really bad. I don't think Ilia is afraid of the grappling, so I don't think that'll be an issue for him. And yeah, we've seen Charles get dropped often. We haven't seen that often from Ilia. I'm going to just have to go with Charles. Although, I think there's a high chance that this fight can be a lot closer than we think. And a slightly lower chance, but still pretty high, that Charles can win this. I am going to have to go with Ilia Topuria via TKO/KO in the second round. I'm going to go with. I'd like to add, if he can finish Oliveira before, in a shorter amount of time than what Islam finished him in, holy shit, MMA Twitter is going to go crazy. I remember people were comparing Charles to Khabib when he was going on the run that he was going on, because he was finishing the guys in a shorter amount of time than it took Khabib. So if Ilia can do that, holy shit, that would be a super fight. That is going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment down below who do you think is going to win. What do you think of my picks? We're a very small channel, so every interaction goes a long way, even if you're here to shit on me. I want to thank you for your time. Follow me over on X. I respond a lot quicker over there if you want to talk to me or anything like that. I post all of my picks on there, including the prelim picks, and a live tweet during every fight card. So follow me over there. Post a lot of good shit. And yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be taking over the MMA spaces here. Thanks for watching.